Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a lap guide for the new lap time challenge taking place at Dragon Trail Seaside with the Chevrolet Corvette C5. To access this lap time challenge, go over to sport mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed so you can be able to access this mode. And once you click on sport mode, go ahead and click on online time trials and you'll see the current lap time challenges being held. So this lap time challenge goes on until the end of May 28, 2025, where with any stock Chevrolet Corvette C5, and no, you cannot tune your car. However, do note that we are on the sports medium tires. Your goal is to get within the 3% time range of the world record time when the event ends, as that is when your lap time gets counted, and hopefully you'll be able to get the 2 million credits. And now let's go ahead and go through some tips, because this car is a bit of a handful to drive. First things first, where to shift. You want to shift just as the shift bar on the bottom of the screen fills up. You can let it rev it out just a little bit, but do be careful of revving it way too much, because you'll quickly find yourself hitting the rev limiter. For the harder braking zones, like for turn number 1 as an example, brake in a straight line, because even just turning just a little bit can have the car wander around and can potentially cause you to lose control. Another thing, these curves are a bit dangerous to deal with, because if you take a closer look, you can see that the edges of the curves, they curve downwards, and if you have the wheels hook onto them, that can potentially cause the car to lose control. And here's one great example to show you what happens if you hook your wheels onto those curves. So you got to be really careful about those curves. The other thing is you got to be really careful with your throttle inputs, because this car will find any excuse to want to step out on you. So you want to try to get the car straightened up as soon as possible before you start to fully accelerate your way out. Even through these high-speed corners, I have to lift off my throttle because the car wants to step out. That's how much of a handful this car is. But okay, now let's go over to the lap guide, where you want to enter the final turn on 3rd gear, and when you're starting a new lap, go a bit wide into the final turn. That way you can give yourself a little more space to give yourself a slightly faster start to your new lap. Now this first corner coming up is a pretty easy flat out corner, but you want to bring yourself towards the right side of the track starting right now. So bring yourself towards the right and look for the 200 meter board, as that is your first braking point. So brake right as you pass it, brake in a straight line as much as you can, and make your way down to 3rd gear. Now do note that I'm actually not using the curves on the right, as that can kind of unsettle the car, so I try to avoid those. Turn in before the 50 meter board and start to ease off of the brakes as you're turning in. Now it is possible to go a bit further to the left while keeping your right wheels on these curves, but it can cause the car to bounce around quite a bit. So if you're going to cheese it that hard, do it really carefully and be mindful of your throttle control, especially as you're coming out of the chicane. Lift off a throttle, try to get the car straightened up before you start to fully accelerate your way out, because the car loves to step out quite a bit over here. Now for this right turn, I'm going to cheese the heck out of it, and I'm going by feel over here because there isn't really a good turning point here. But as you go through this right turn, you want to lift off a throttle and make sure your right wheels do not hit that curb. And just bounces around just a little bit, but I was able to clear it. Then brake just as the grass on the left starts. Brake in a straight line, using all of your braking power, avoid the edge on the left. Turn in before the curb on the left ends. And you can already see me going down to 3rd gear. I'm actually going to go down to 2nd gear to have the car rotate a bit more. Go back up to 3rd gear and carefully get back on the throttle, and just try to get the car straightened out as soon as you can before the car starts to step out on you. And you actually saw right there, the car did step out on me just a little bit. Now your next braking point, you're braking just before you pass the orange wall that is on the right. Use all of your braking power for a short moment. Then start to ease off of the brakes as you're turning in. So turning in well before the barrier on the right starts. And here you can't stay on 4th gear. You can get a little bit of a slide going in. That's okay. Just make sure you don't slide too much, as that will cost you a bit of momentum. And when you go over these curves in the S's, do a lift off of throttle. That'll let you turn in a bit more, and it'll keep the car from wanting to step out, because the car wants to step out on you when you go over these curves at the S's. Even right here, it just steps out just a little bit right there. But with that little bit of lifting off of throttle, I was able to keep the car under control. Now you go up to 5th gear, brake right as you pass the 200 meter board, and brake as much as you can. I don't like using the curves on the left, as that can unsettle the car. Go down to 3rd gear, turn in just as you're about to reach the 50 meter board, and just like in the first hairpin that we went through, go down to 2nd gear for a bit more rotation, shift back up to 3rd gear, and carefully get back on the throttle. And you want to try to straighten the car as soon as you can before the car starts to step out on you. Now turn in before the 50 meter board. The first part of the chicane is flat out, but starting right here, this is where you start to lift off of throttle, and it's all about throttle control. Bring yourself as close as you can to the Marshall stand that is on the right, because this is your turning point. So you want to set yourself up for the chicane of death, lifting off of throttle, just a bit of throttle control. Avoid dipping your left wheels onto the red area on the left, because that's going to end very badly. Try to straight line it through the chicane of death. Here you can dip your right wheels onto the red area. Just make sure you don't hit the curves with your right wheels. Shift up to 5th gear, stay on the left, and brake before you reach the 150 meter board. So use all of your braking power, and you want to wait until you're about to reach the 100 meter board before you start to gradually turn on in. So you can already see right there, I'm going down to 4th gear. I'm getting ready to start to turn in. Down to 3rd gear in just a moment. Down to 2nd gear for a bit more rotation, but then exit on 3rd gear. And you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle, because even right here, the car can step out on you. You actually see my ghost stepping out a bit right there. So yeah, get the car straightened up as soon as you can before the car starts to step out on you. But that is it for this part of the lap guide. Now let's go through this again, but this time I will not stop the video. So we'll start off right as we start the new lap. This first turn, easy flat out turn, bring yourself towards the right, brake at the 200 meter board, brake in a straight line down to 3rd gear. You can cheese a bit of this first part of the chicane, but you got to be really careful with your throttle input. Get the car straightened up as soon as you can, so you can confidently go back on full throttle power. Do not hit the curb with your right wheels, otherwise you will go flying off the track. Down to 2nd gear for more rotation, exit on 3rd gear, nice and careful getting back on the throttle. You can see right there the car stepping out on me, and it's pretty difficult to catch that, so I got pretty lucky right there. Use the orange barrier on the right as your braking point. A little bit of a slide right there, not a huge deal. Lift off of throttle if you go over those curves, because those curves can cause the car to step out quite a bit. Even right there, the car steps out a bit, but luckily with that bit of throttle control, I was able to keep the car under control. Up to 5th gear, brake at the 200 meter board, down to 2nd gear for more rotation. Exit on 3rd gear, nice and careful getting back on the throttle. Try to straighten up your steering as soon as you can. Then turn in just before the 50 meter board. Lift off of throttle right around here. Just all about throttle control through the chicane of death, and try to straight line it through the chicane of death so you don't have to make that many corrections. Bring yourself towards the left, shift up to 5th gear, brake before the 150 meter board, go down to 3rd gear, 2nd gear for more rotation, exit back up to 3rd gear, carefully get back on the throttle. You can see my ghost was stepping out a bit right there. Up into 4th gear, go ahead and finish your lap, and we'll go through this one more time, but this time we will be in bumper can. So give it a moment. There we go. So this first turn, once again, it is a flat out corner. Shift up to 5th gear, bring yourself towards the right. Use the 200 meter board as your first braking point. Down to 3rd gear, you can cheese this part that you can, but you got to be really careful with your throttle input to make sure that the car doesn't completely step out on you, as this car loves to have its tail step out on you for whatever reason, even the smallest reasons. Lift off our throttle right there, brake when the grass on the left starts, down to second gear for more rotation. Exit back on third gear. Again, got to be really careful with your throttle input because the car was stepping out on me right there. Bring yourself towards the right, use the orange barrier on the right as your next braking point. It is okay to slide out a little bit right here, just don't do it too much. Then lift off our throttle whenever you go over those curves because these curves can cause the car to step out quite a bit. So throttle control, very important through the S's. Bring yourself towards the left, brake at the 200-meter board, down to third gear, second gear for more rotation, but exit on third gear, nice and careful getting back on the throttle, try to straighten the car as soon as you can, then turn in before the 50-meter board, lift off our throttle right here as going through the chicane of death is all about throttle control in the Corvette C5. Try to straighten on it through the chicane of death, then go ahead and stay towards the left side of the track. Gonna look for the 150-meter board because you're gonna brake just before you pass it. Down to third gear, second gear for more rotation, exit back up on third gear. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle. Just gotta be careful as the car can step out on the final corner or the final hairpin. And with that, just able to poke into the 148. That took a while because this car is a huge handful to drive, but hopefully this lap guide helps you out. And if you like this video, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe and all that good stuff. But that's all for me. Take care, everyone. This is Mr. MCA, and I'll see you in the next video.